Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows. So this is a new figure by Mezco. It is a Mezco exclusive and limited edition. Now, I always find it funny when they say limited edition because obviously everything in the universe is limited. So I'm not sure what they mean. I've seen production numbers for a lot of these figures, and they're in the thousands. Like I'm talking like 5,000. So I don't know if this is more like 500 or something. The Shadow was created in July of 1930 as a radio voice for introducing other stories. Think of it kind of as the 1930s Crypt Keeper. Except in this case, the character became so popular that they started making stories with the Shadow, and the Shadow became more popular than any of the stories that he was introducing. He's used a lot of different identities, the most famous being Lamont Cranston and Kent Allard. Um, this is kind of back, I guess you'd call him a Pulp Fiction hero. Back when superpowers were more like trained superpowers rather than acquired from a red sun or I mean a yellow sun or radioactive spider or whatnot. He had trained himself using mystic training to his the ability to read minds, control minds, altering perceptions. He can become invisible, at least to people. Low level telekinesis and low level super strength. So he's stronger than the average man, probably stronger even than say a power lifter, but not even like a Spider-Man level power. I would call him kind of the anti-Batman because in the case of Batman, he famously doesn't use guns and doesn't kill, whereas the Shadow does use guns, and he's got twin holsters down there. These guns are removable, um, and they do have clips, which actually I don't have the clips in there right now, but I did put them into their holsters. Not only does he use guns, but he will kill and seems to take a lot of pleasure in killing. He delights in it. So let's this with bandana. It is separate, and so I can kind of pull it down a little bit. Actually, I'll just remove the head, and you can kind of see he's got a tie in there, and that's kind of the look he has. Like when he's killing, he's having fun and he's laughing. That's kind of one of the things he does is laughs and smiles while he's killing people. And not only will he use his pistols, but he uses a Tommy gun to mow down even more villains. The hat is attached, so I was a little surprised because I've never seen Mezco. Mezco has had figures with hats, but they've always been separate pieces. And the way they do it, because hats are really difficult to do on figures, is they kind of carve out an area in there. So I guess they decided to do it a little bit different, which is just to have the hat attached. We have the long coat. I'm not even going to try and remove it. I made that mistake one time with another figure, and one of the buttons popped off. And so I'm not going to play around with it. I'm not even sure if it's supposed to be removable. You'd have to remove this belt, and I don't know that it's meant to be removed. A lot of these Mezco figures, even though they'll have suits, they're not meant to be removed. Now, my experience with the Shadow is rather limited. I don't even remember if I saw the theatrical 1990s movie, but the Shadow has had tremendous longevity, and there's always something being brought out. I wondered if the Shadow was actually in public domain, but I based on my research, it goes into the public domain in 2027. This is a comic. We have two comics, one by Howard Chaykin and one by the Shadow. These were the 1980s. This one is drawn by Bill Sienkiewicz, which is why I got into it. It's a pretty good series. I liked this series, um, but it does show how utterly ruthless the Shadow is. He takes delight in killing, and he. Okay, so this is his cloak, or whatever you want to call it, and I'm not going to use it for a couple reasons. First of all, because it really obscures his body, and it's cool. It can these rubber bands will go under his arms and then snap in the front. But I think I'm going to just go with this because it does hide most of his body. He's got several alternate heads, so we have a more serious look, and then we have another more serious look. So these ones are very similar and different from that grinning evil smile. I'll put back his bandana when I display him. He has a you can it's got wiring in it, so you could have his scarf doing whatever, blowing in the wind or whatever. Not sure if I'm going to display it with the scarf, but it's certainly something you can do. This figure has a ton of extras. This one here, he's got some kind of power. I don't remember him demonstrating it in the comic book, but he's got a ring and then this power, and I don't remember what the power is or what it does. But he certainly does have the mind control in the comic, and in fact, he controls a pair of villains' minds for what's apparently several days. So this is kind of cool. Some kind of like old-fashioned telephone typewriter with a person's face on it. So presumably this is supposed to be something from, say, the 1930s or 1940s. So it has that kind of look to it. He has kind of indicative of his. It's something that's used to showing the balance of justice, and you could see that this image was also used in the Howard Chaykin book. In fact, it's pretty much the same. So you have good folks on one side and then evil folks on the other. Don't think I'll be doing anything with that one. No idea what the point of this one is, but it's basically a skull. It looks like a crystal ball. So I'm sure it's from some story, but I don't know what. And then we have sort of an effect with the gun, so you could put that in the gun barrel and show a gun blast. We have more gun blasts, and then we have 6 clips. So this is where the guns were, and you could put the clips in the guns. And we have 4 sets of alternate hands, as well as the hand that was doing the effect. And then we have, I don't really know what the purpose of this is, but it's a second gun holster. So I don't know if they're thinking that you might break the one gun holster and you need a spare gun holster, but for some reason they've got a second one. And then I'll show, we have the box here. Very nice. That's very evocative of 1930s images. And then it shows all the things in the back. Okay. So it says here it comes with Tommy gun, gun blast effects, 2-way radio with extendable telephone, scales of justice, chest harness with 2 gun holsters. Again, he has a gun holster, and I did not put this on. This is how it came. So I'm not sure what the point is of that. So again, I don't know what the production run on this one was. I don't know if I would say it was, a bit of FOMO, knowing that it was only available for a limited time and only available on Mezco, because I'm not a huge Shadow fan. I enjoyed the stories from the 80s, but I think it's a cool figure. I'm always a sucker for tailored jackets and coats and ties and stuff like that. Probably the right decision to make the hat non-removable. You know, as cool as it is to have a removable hat, they have to kind of, fudge it with carving out a section in there. And then, of course, when you're bringing it on and off, you risk scuffing the paint. So I'm okay with it. Does kind of take away a little bit of the authenticity, but I think it's probably the right decision. He stands very well. That's one of the issues I've had, but I think Mezco finally figured out how to properly make ankles, and he's got some nice shoes. So I don't know how many people are really interested in the Shadow these days, but I was surprised when I did some research to find out that the Shadow just keeps coming out with stories and comics and this and that, and I want to say that he had a team up with Batman at some point. But it is an incredibly enduring character that in a few years is going to be hitting 100. So the Shadow has managed to have longevity far beyond almost anyone from that time. So that is The Shadow by Mezco, a limited edition exclusive.